Kamu sendiri cek ya mati nggak ya? Soalnya kan nggak bisa ngikutin. Aneh juga.
Iya samaan kok nek bicara ini oke.
2:3，
同埋係咯，好似都幾強，使唔使放大啲佢個人？咁就半個身，但係會冇咗張台。我陣間會拎走我部電咁樣，佢個人好暗。個 light 有冇得搞？
focus 咗好冇？有啲話放大，跟住睇下有冇 focus。順應跟住睇下有冇 focus 到。
係咁嘅咩？
所以冇 focus 到咯。
Oh my god！ 好 sad
咁係咁咩？
點解咁難用嘅呢部機？好唔中意啊 ！Camera 呢個 not this one。
係喎，因為你要你用嗰個 game 咧，如果冇聲你又係。
我哋會用電話一齊收埋。
電話嚟。
係冇嘅。
Stop focus。
呢個。
我呢個冇問題，因為你繼續舉隻嘛。
focus 用 auto。
佢其實應該係 full 咗嘅咯，佢只不過放大就OK 咯，OK 啦，
咁 OK 啦，OK。
希望 OK 啦。
咁樣 OK。等陣先，咁呢個開始錄啦。
係啊。不如你試下咁。錄緊啦，你錄緊，
你就可以開始咯。你哋隨時開始啦。Cynthia， 你咁樣好用你嘅頭會見到咯，坐後。
得，你坐後邊啲好啲嘅，我驚有陣間你又係喐嗰陣。你唔緊要嘅，嗰啲你唔緊要嘅，你有你個頭唔緊要嘅嗰啲。好，即係嗰個啊嘛，係啊，唔緊要。
等先，撞到你。而家 OK。
而家 OK。
你哋有冇 mark 低呢個題？
有啊，
同埋要講英文。
冇所謂，講英文好啲咯。
講英文咯，係咯。
係啊。
好啊。
因為我哋放所有嘅。
係啊。
好啊。
會唔會部電話會唔會入嘅？
唔會，同埋你手小心啲，冇亂用。OK， 唔該。
咁我哋而家開始。
可以。
Okay. So please briefly introduce yourself, including your what is your name and where you come from and what is your occupation now.
Okay. Let me introduce myself. That's my name. Actually, I used to call by contract, and now I'm a domestic helper in Hong Kong who's working around 16 years.
Yeah. So where do you come from?
I came from Indonesia. Partly is Surabaya, Java.
Okay. So how many employers have you served?
This current job is only one adult and taking care of a dog because actually it's supposed to be three, and one of an elderly already passed away, and the other one is now in Shanghai. It's not in Shanghai, in China, doing a business. So currently only taking care of one adult.
So what is your average day as a domestic helper is like? So what is your daily routine?
My daily routine, this current job is much more easy than others because I only taking care of one, and mostly my main job is doing the cleaning and cooking because my bosses like to eat, but it's a healthy food, so I focus on his need for the diet.
And so are you happy with your current job here? And are you always happy?
Yeah, mostly actually for the job, that's every work actually is the same. Happy or not happy, that's depend on you. As for me, I encourage all my friends to try to liking what are you doing and loving what your job right now. So even maybe if the working environment is not always be your side for sure, but you have to manage yourself, how to endure and how to manage that, make it positive.
So let's talk about your YouTube and Facebook pages.
Okay.
So why did you start your YouTube channel and your Facebook page?
Okay, actually the YouTube channel is not owned by me. I'm only the actor because actually since 10 years, past 10 years, I'm doing the counseling. And during the counseling, we do it offline mostly last time because that social media is still not booming yet. After 2015, a lot of cases from domestic helper, and that current on 2015, our Indonesian government itself also having a changing about the amendment of personal data. So on that one, the correcting of the our personal data that's affect most of the Indonesian helper in Hong Kong, and got two of them get jail. So I changed my purpose of using my Facebook page on and my Facebook itself, that's to spread the information. Actually, most of the time I'm doing it, but not that kind of concern. And for the YouTube channel itself, I just started actually because I tried to change the method to give the information. Last time I used to write even at my blog. I have 4 blog as well. Since 2016 I started. So even the page, because the past 2 times my Facebook was taken down. And so I was thinking, if all my Facebook taken down, so the information be lost. So I put on Google, at least the information will stay. Even my Facebook page, my Facebook myself also there is disappear. So the information will be stay at Google.
So what actually inspired you or initiate you to start this Facebook page? What is
The basic plan.
the event that triggered you want to run such a page?
Okay, the trigger is because I always losing my Facebook and my personal Facebook. So that's why I use because actually the name of contract itself also already been known quite well for most of Indonesian domestic helper because mostly I use it in Indonesian language. And once they finding contract, that's why I put on that name on the page. So if at least my Facebook personal Facebook account lose it, then the page is still there.
What is your YouTube and Facebook channel is mostly about?
The YouTube channel name also contract Spencer.
What's the contents are about?
The contents are about the domestic helper and about the awareness about the regulation, all about the domestic helper story mostly, and even my main duty or even myself.
And you have mentioned, you became viral on the Hong Kong social media because of a video that
Yeah.
calling the urging the employers
Yes.
to think in the domestic helper's shoes. So why did you film and upload that video?
Okay, it's because during these 2 years, actually the breakout C-19, most of us, some of the employer that's abusive mentally to them. That's seem like uh, when you go out with me, that means stay with your employer. That you are not gonna to get infected. But when you go out, that's you have your own holiday. That means you enjoy your day off outside for the whole day. You will come back bring the virus. Mostly having this kind of treatment. And I've been hurt for this kind is quite a while, especially after Chinese New Year Eve. After Chinese New Year, after the Valentine days, that's the breakout is quite serious, much more serious. So on that day, a lot of the employer are abusive to the helper. That's even their own need. They don't allow the helper to get out to get their own private need.
And we have observed that there are many resenting comments against you, like no matter from Hong Kong people or from Indonesian. So, what
Yeah.
what are those comments mainly about? And how do you feel towards it?
Okay, okay. First of all, I don't assume everybody should to be agree with me because this one is beyond on my control. And I myself already get to use with this kind of situation actually since I was protesting to my own consulate or my own government which is some of regulation not correct, so I've been used with it. some of them, maybe for the Hong Kong people itself, it's quite normal if they are using the kind of word, ask me to go back to your own country or whatever. This is their right. But again, I have my right to defend myself too. But I don't need to explain to them or try to defend because I'm here I only doing my job. And after done, I also go back to my own country.
Thank you very much. May I ask, would you like to take off your mask?
For sure, it's fine. Okay.
Do you need tissue or anything?
Okay.
係咪除口罩會好啲啊？
冇所謂。我頭先戴咗。
都 OK 嘅。
但係我頭先未入正題。
頭先可能唔出街。
同埋你部電話可唔可以擺
Okay.
有冇入鏡？
冇。
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. So, I'd like to ask more about like your employment.
Okay.
So, how many times have you changed your employment?
Since I'm in Hong Kong, mostly because every 2 years I change new employer. Because this one is myself. Since I'm going to work in Hong Kong, that's I told myself I'm not gonna take another contract for one person or one employer. It's because I would like to don't have that kind of deep connection. Because mostly my job is taking care of baby, and I love baby. So that's again my experience when I was in Singapore for one person for 5 years, and I'm taking care of kids, and I also having that kind of benefit on it. They treat me like own person and treat me like sister, and my boss itself also just give me that kind of feel like that kind of responsibility for the kids. I have to educate them and discipline him until today. So it's because of that bonding make me sad if I have to separate with them. So I tell myself once I'm working in Hong Kong, maybe I just take 2 years and change. And at the same time, I also have to gain more experience and meet new person.
So, you actually have a lot of employers.
It's around 8.
8 employers. Oh, so for the employers in Singapore, you have a very good relationship with.
Yes, until today. Even on 2017 December, they came here just purposely to pay me a visit.
That's so good. So, how can you build that good relationship?
It's first because my mom itself is unmarried, so she's a single, and she adopted the child from Indonesia. And because she told me what is the purpose she adopted the child, and when first time I came on that time I just 18 years, so she told me, why did you so young and then come along to this country that's maybe you have to came up from your comfort zone, why don't you try to gain more experience first at your place? I said no, because I would like to expand my knowledge, since I also basically I could speak English but even maybe not much right now. So if I'm working in Singapore and working in other country, it will be sharpen my English. And I also got interest to learn another language similar like Chinese. So when I was in Singapore, also speaking Teochew and Hokkien, so mostly multi languages, because down there I could learn more, pick up fast. And in Hong Kong now only Cantonese. I didn't expect that in Hong Kong I have to learn Cantonese, because as I interest in Hong Kong is because Jackie Chan. So yeah, and I just feeling that no Chinese people only speak Mandarin at first. So after came to Hong Kong, oh, it's not. So when in Singapore, my mom told me, no, Chinese is not only Mandarin. Chinese a lots of dialect. And when you came to Hong Kong, later on, you have to speak Cantonese. You have to learn how to speak Cantonese. She told me. So basically, she also understand and know how to speak Cantonese a little bit. So I got learn some dialect conversation earlier, even not much, because not always used to speak. So after I came to Hong Kong, this is because my first priority actually. Singapore is for the jumping stone. And the relationship come up because we have same direction on it. Same direction, that is to bring up the child, how to educate him, and then to be as a good person, the future at least. and don't waste our time for it. That's it.
I see. So for the other employers, like the remaining 7, do you have? Can you recall any experience of having difficulties in communicating with your employers?
Okay, first at all, when I came to Hong Kong around 16 years ago, that's because my first employer, not actually, she doesn't allow me to speak Cantonese, but because again at home have Kagum Papa, have the grandma and the grandparents, and the main job should to take care of baby, but after a while I should to speak Cantonese anyway, so for the communication, first came my mom speak English, but she at first didn't assume me that I could speak English well. So after a while, she said, "Would you mind that you speak slowly?" Oh, sorry, I thought you understand English well, so why don't we speak Cantonese? Oh, you also know how to speak Cantonese. At least I understood what I was speaking for, but maybe I could not speak up back later on. After a month later, I'm working for them because Kung Kung have to speak Cantonese. So I myself have to learn. And at that time, it's quite lucky because have the Asian television, the one having the Kung Kung always watching the drama and have the subtitle. So from there, I challenge myself, try to speak up. Even maybe, oh, if I'm wrong, please correct me. So the key is you dare to speak, you dare to try. Even that is maybe people don't get you for the first time, but if you used to speak, that's much easier for you to communicate.
I see. So are there any difficulties you face? For example, your needs being neglected or your rights?
Have first time came, yes, because my boss itself, I don't blame them because they first time hiring a helper. After 10 years, yeah, a couple don't have baby and don't live with another person. So I try to understand their situation. First month, uh, the grandma is quite good because the grandma maybe already knew that is a mostly Indonesian helper, or that's why they always used to eat rice, all this kind of thing. So she always provide me for lunch. So overlap, it's not say overlap. She tried to put some of rice for me for tomorrow lunch for you because maybe we are not used to eat rice and you need to work. This is from the grandma side, but from my mom and myself, because they are not used to have this kind of experience, so they quite neglected for the food at first. And one day after I received my first salary, I try myself to get it from Indonesian store. So I try to top up the food, the kind of noodles, everything, because actually I know the habits. That's rice, maybe you get it only one day once at night. So I also get to use on this kind of situation because when was in Singapore, my mom trained me on this kind of thing. So once you came to Hong Kong, you have to train yourself. So I already well prepared for that, and that's not surprise me at all. Even one day ever, she forgotten to buy me a bread and for the breakfast. So I got nothing to eat. I just okay, fine. And after I cook noodles, she ever told me, 我哋咧係冇人煮嘢食嘅，我唔知真係。係啱，你哋係冇人煮嘢食嘅，咁我冇嘢食，我點啊？麵我自己買，煮我自己煮，我真係用你個架撐洗我洗，有冇分別啊？Then she kept quiet. So but I do this kind of complaint. That means I try to defend myself. This one is not being bok choy, no, but I try to tell her off that this is supposed to be your right, but I don't complain you. It doesn't mean I'm okay. So after on that day, she tried to change. She tried to change, but not much because it take a time for her to try to understand us also. And after whenever a few days, weeks, 1 or 2 weeks once, the grandma have to go back to China sometimes. And when the grandma go back to China, I got nothing to eat. if I don't prepare, because she's not used. She only care for herself and just care for the kids or whatever, because the kids still baby on that day. Also, we have to cook in different food, and she doesn't care. My helper got something to eat or not. Doesn't care. Even the fridge will be empty. So I get used with it. I don't mind. And even she also at the first month don't have that kind of trust on me. For the key, I don't mind. But when during their habits used to have that kind of yamcha morning, so they're early in the morning, whole family will be go down to get the breakfast, and me, I have to stay at home waiting for them for around 2 hours. And on that time, the room, their private room, all locked. I said, first month I keep quiet. Second month I told them, excuse me, if you don't trust me, please don't hire me here. First of all, when you say my main job actually taking care of baby, but you also not allowed me to touch the baby. Even even try to feed her, not allowed me, and then take a shower for her, not allowed me. Seem like, that's a you don't need to do that then, but main job is there. And for the cleaning itself, I'm waiting for you for 2 hours having your breakfast. I can do a lot. I said, why don't you open the door and just let me do the cleaning, and maybe your private things that I have my limits. I explained to her, said, I have my limits, which part I have to touch, or which part is not. So you just open the door, maybe for your closet or whatever, you could lock it. I don't touch it. I just do the surface cleaning and general cleaning. Within 2 hours I can do a lot. So from then she changed. And after that she changed a while, time by time. After the fourth month, actually I have a problem with my family. I should go back on that day, and I still have to pay the agency fee. I dare to tell my ma'am that I'm not continuing my work. I would like to resign. Would you mind if you find someone else to replace? So on that day she get angry for sure. She just hired me for 4 months, and then she said, wow, you so daring. You still pay the agency fee. You dare to tell me that you are resigning your duties. I said, it's fine for me. How are you going to pay the agency fee? Your responsibility is pay me. My duty to pay the agency fee is my own personal business. So please, I tell you earlier that give you a time to find someone else to replace. I consider you that you still need someone to take care of your family. Until you find someone else, I get out from your house, because I have no choice. I have to go back since my father on that day is get sick. But again, she tried to delay until 20 months. Yeah, 18 months. Yeah, and my father passed away. So on that day, I tried to endure until I asked her, did you really find a replacement? Or you just try to delay me? And until my father already passed away. Would you mind put yourself at my shoe? At first, she's so angry when I told my employer in Singapore that my employer in Singapore sent me money to buy air ticket, because she told me that the air ticket don't have ticket or whatever. I said, please, would you mind you send me the money and I buy my own air ticket. Until on that day, I don't care. You give me my right, I don't care. Annual leave, whatever, I don't care, as long as I could go back. I tried to explain to her on that day, and then she told me sorry. After I told her, my mom said sorry and asked me to sit down. Actually, what is the real problem? Why I would like to pick up? My real problem actually is myself. But again, if you ask me, what is the real problem? Is you should to reflect on yourself, because she told me actually the story. I'm not the first helper. So first helper is Filipino, but only worked for 2 weeks, and she backed out also. And I told her, do you want to know the reason why? Because you actually treat us invisible. And I try to understand your situation, because you since yourself also haven't have a helper earlier, so this is maybe the first time you living with another person that's stranger for you. So please be much more care for your helper. So from that, oh, do I really that kind of person? Ask yourself. And again, change your habit. There's no one perfect. You are such a perfectionist person, and this is will affect on yourself and your surrounding people. Because admitting is not easy, but she's good because she tried to ask me and try to admit it. She has this kind of problem on herself. So and try to change even difficult. And after we still keep contact, so on that day we still keep contact by phone, still meeting each other. And then she also told me that yes, what I did at past 15 years is correct. So now she also was seeing a doctor in psychology because she told me what you said was right. So after this past, still keep contact with her. And another also with the past another employer also still keep contact. Actually mostly my relationship with my past employer is everything is fine. This is only that I would like to change the environment and try to meet a new person, a new family. So nothing to do with the kind of relationship, but I also try to keep it. Is because for the personal matter, maybe for us having a differentiate is normal and having arguing is normal, but it doesn't mean that nothing can settle. So that's why I say discuss is much better.
I have one follow-up question. Do you think it's cultural differences and trust problem that cause conflicts between employers and domestic helpers? And do you have any tips for your fellow domestic helpers? If
Yes.
you can look at them.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes. For the culture shock, sure have, because mostly, Hong Kong people, mostly this one, I can't say that's all generalized, no, but personally because they are having that kind of double standard. Yeah, double standard and trying to keep their image well. So nothing to lose for us for sure. But for the Indonesian helper, mostly of us, that's we also have been educated, given the green pass for the elderly and some of the people that's higher level from us. So sometimes we are feel that's awkward if we correcting you, even you are wrong. So we just say, okay, thank you. But actually, they're behind on that story. They're having a pressure on themselves. They didn't know how to tell the employer honestly. So my tips is don't take personally. Just stay calm and be yourself. And if you think you can't deal with the situation, you try to find someone to talk to. Because you could not tell, actually you could not tell directly to the employer. So that's why it's not every Indonesian helper could speak up. Even as for me, I could, but not out there.
I see. So you mean for Hong Kong employers they have double standard. It's
Yeah.
because they behave in front of the family
Yeah,
members.
yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. They are having this kind of it's not admit defeat. Yeah. So I do hope some of the, it's not only Indonesian helper, all those helpers should to know this and try to notice it and don't need to against them because you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. So just stay down to the earth and just say, okay, try to satisfy them. This is the best way to deal with the situation.
So for the domestic helper you just mentioned, they feel awkward to like correct the employer's mistake.
Yes.
Is it how is it related to like the culture thing?
Yeah, it's the culture itself maybe for us. For the Indonesian, we should be polite and treat nicely to the elderly, or that's our ancestor, or this kind of thing. We have it, but I guess Chinese people also had it. So because of this problem, most of the, when we still young, so just like mom know your best, so have this kind of rule even for them. The first generation, second generation, and now maybe the third generation is different. So like you youngster, you have the open mind, but for the first generation and second generation, maybe not. They still stereotype on their own. Say that I'm always right. I have the right. I deserve to treat you like that. Having that kind of attitude, that's bring us that kind of feeling pain and feeling sick, that's feel unfair. But actually, if you take it, it's fine. Yes, this is the fact. When you try to accept it, you could deal with the situation. This is only the situation matter. It's not because if you take it personally, you surely say, why you treat people like this? Why you treat me like this? Am I that bad? You will probably rebel on yourself and you feel bad on yourself, and then whatever you do, that you will be not happy. So you have to try to trick it and try to manipulate yourself. Even maybe it's not easy, but you have to try. Even you go to the other place, that's employer, surely that's they would use their authority to press you. And mostly because I've been changing the employer all the time, I knew that. So some of them are, so a few personnel like that. But when it times to comes, you have to speak up. You have to still to speak up and try to defend yourself. So sometimes life is cruel and sometimes they are very mean, but you have to stand for yourself at the same time.
I see. So, how are you so there? Are you so dying to tell your employers of their problem?
Okay, why I do so there?
Yes.
It's because I myself, my personality, I've been. If I'm seeing something is not right, I will tell the truth. So I'm honest. To be honest on this communication, so honest to myself and try to discipline myself. And even maybe I'm doing something wrong, I will tell them the truth and I will say sorry. I will say that on this is my own self. So if the thing is not right, as long as I'm at the right place, I dare to speak up. But I will surely will find this when the time have to speak up. It's not always being doing this rebellion. No, I'm not that kind of rebel.
I see. So, but then a lot of domestic helpers, they are not so there to speak up.
Yeah, because they try to secure the job. They try to secure the job, especially now the job hopping issue. They have to endure all the situation. Some of the employer try to press them down, even try to blame them, and then try to write down the report. So they have to endure all this kind of situation. Even they treat them badly, they could not speak up. They try to keep it to themselves, but actually this one is no good for their mental state. Even for avoiding to say no, they could not say no. Ask them to breach employment contract to do the working, that's maybe doing the cleaning for another house, all this kind of thing. If you don't do it, I terminated you or whatever. So they try to secure their job.
So why don't you afraid of like you losing the job? Or
I'm not afraid of it because I know myself. That's even I'm losing this job, I could find another person to hire me because. So that's why I told my friend, once you work in Hong Kong, you are required to be here. You have qualified. It's not because you are poor. It's not because you are so stupid and then because you get the lower job. No, your job is decent job. You have to tell yourself your value. You have to find yourself your value. You are here to be required. That's why you have your qualified. You have your standard. You have your skill. Try to focus on your skill. Try to explore yourself. Make sure you have your standard, so once you get kicked out from that house, at least you go another house, still got someone pick up you, and you got no, you fine, you got the full of confidence to do it.
So you would suggest your fellows to be resilient.
Resistant to it and try to focus on yourself instead of focusing of your employer behavior instead. So you also have to observe, but try to deal with the situation. Endure is must, but at the same time you also have to power up yourself, how to explore on yourself, and try to maintain your quality.
I see. So, if in the future you are treated unfairly by your employer, what will you do?
In the future, mother,
If your future employer treated you unfairly, so what will you do?
okay, first of all, just like what I always use the step, observe, stay calm, stay firm, take action. First of all, when we came first time came to the new employer, we have to observe ourselves and their habit, and try to communicate after a while, and then try to make a journal for yourself. After, if anything goes wrong, we try to sit down and try to speak up. If the thing that's maybe we got no choice, have to move on, that's fine, but at least both are agree for that.
I see. So, how would you like talk to your employer if you got some rights you think um, he or she is not respecting? How will you talk?
Okay, I will try to sit down together, and on that matter I will try which part that I should to have the right. So mostly of our Indonesian helper about the food insufficient, because some of the employer didn't ask what would you like to eat, maybe how did your habit, they didn't care for this, right? So for this kind of things, should to speak it, I mean that's when do the interview, you should to ask yourself, you should to tell your employer honestly. And mostly some of the helper itself also quite wrong for me, the method for the interview, because they show that's the good point. This is the wrong part, because maybe your good point is not acceptable for the another employer. So you should to tell is the weak point, let her understand you, that your weak point should be improved. So it's not the good point. For the good point, everyone could manage it, even me. So even to this my employer, I also told him my weak point which part. When start interviewing, when he asked me how good your skill cooking, you are not gonna to know until you hire me. This is my answer.
So, for example, can we do it like a case? Like, for example, I am a employer
Mm.
and then I don't respect your right. So now we're sitting down. How would you talk to me?
Okay, I say thái à, 唔好意思啊，我想問下咧，如果I will give the example，如果你係而家打工仔啦，咁你都係有公司嘛，有 boss 啊，咁你放假嗰陣時咧，如果打翻俾你，跟住叫翻轉頭，咁唔俾錢咧，你肯唔肯做啊？I will give this one. For example, and normally with my boss, I'm using this one. So even on that day, after the break of the Valentine's, on that day, support very serious. He ever told me, 不如咧呢個禮拜你會出街啦。咁你中意行山噶嘛？下次我陪你行山啦。好，我話你講㗎，講嘢又算數啊，跟住冇問題。But yes, he himself also don't go out on that day. So we 3 weeks, I also stay at home on the holiday, and totally it's not working. I mean that's maybe we just cook together all this kind of food. It's fine, but it's not that kind of general. I have to do the work, no. But it's for me, I'm okay because I have my privacy. How about others? Some of them they don't have room. So this is what I told the employer. If you don't allow your helper to get out, is fine, but at least give them some room. This is room is not your give them private room. No, because I know in Hong Kong mostly difficult to give some private room for the helper itself. We know about it. Just at least give them privacy, some room. I mean that maybe she would like to call the family. Let her be with the phone. Let her be. This is also her holiday anyway. Let her enjoy even in your house. So it is normal playing with the phone and then having their Facebook or whatever when during their holiday. Why not?
I see. So when you are communicating with your employer, you will first be polite,
Yes, for sure.
and then you will voice out your needs.
Yeah.
And any more anything to that?
got certain point I have to be firm. So it's maybe some people say that I'm not polite or that kind of 你好串係咪先？有時我都係會咁講嘅。I have to be firm. Got certain point I have to be firm because ever he told me that asked me to do something that's breaching employment contract. At first I told him from the start, this is not my job. I'm not supposed to do it. But if you insist me to do it, I'm okay. But it's not gonna to be routine. And I to be firm to him. Sorry, I'm not gonna do it even you force me. If you're still forcing me, let me get out from your house right now. 咁你覺得係講廣東話，我都係仲會好蠢㗎。Because I have the certain point we have to be firm. It's not I'm not impolite, but if I'm not firm enough, they will thought that you 你即係玩㗎嘛。所以有啲問題你係要真係要 firm 嘅。嗱，most of the Indonesian helper they could not manage on this situation. They could not say because they said that actually Indonesian women for us for politeness don't need to teach us. But at a certain point you have to stand up very firm for your right. And especially for this kind when you doing breaching employment contract, 你唔係淨係坐監，你都係要發錢，你又冇分工啦，變咗如果真係俾人 report 咗，邊個賠翻俾你啊？咁嗰陣時佢會咁講嘅，如果我加錢俾你會點啊？你加錢幾多？我會咁講嘅，1000、2000蚊，你加多幾多錢都係賠翻唔到俾我㗎啦。如果真係俾人 report 咗，俾人發現咗，我冇咗份工啊，你賠翻俾我咩？你嗰1000蚊、2000蚊本身係賠翻唔到俾我，點解我係唔要 ？Maybe this word, if you heard on it, or the way I speak, the tone is for the employer. 哇！你真係咁刮，係咪？但係冇辦法 ，I have to be firm. But at a certain point, sometimes I have to be soft. So for the manner, you have to check what the situation is. So like even yesterday, maybe I also same with my employer. So would you mind when you take off your clothes? I know this is my job, my duty. Would you mind if you hang yourself the belt when you take off your clothes? Huh? If I hang the belt myself, that means I could not hang the trouser on a hook. Yes, I know. But because on a Friday is the last day you wearing it and I have to pick it up for wash, why don't you take off your belt first and then hang it rather than you just chuck it on the floor? And he's not admitting it still. He tried to find something else to a defense for himself and try to correct me in my work. That's you know that you do this and I said, okay, fine, thank you for the remind call. Next time I don't do it. I just said that. So just like this kind of situation, mostly of the employer having this kind of situation. So when we try to tell them something that actually you could do little bit by yourself, why not? They said that because you are here. Because I hire you to do that, so this kind of grandiose and attitude make some of the helper didn't understand how to deal with it. And they feel like 我唔係你個老大嚟㗎，變咗咁樣㗎嘛。咁本身咧唔係個問題係嗰啲嘅。咁係 I just changed the fact. Yes, we are here to be your helper, but we are here not being your servant.
So how to become a firm person?
Firm. First of all, you have to know your right. And dealing with your right and that one is supposed to be at the clause your employment contract ID 407. Other than that, it's different. So, including breaching employment contract, food allowance, whatever. This one all already at the ID 407. For this one, it's much easy. For the holiday, for the hour for the holiday, this one all already on employment ordinance.
And after knowing your rights, is there any tips to be firm?
Yes, after you know your right, and then you should to know how to deal, because you only know how to you only the one who know the situation and your boss the habit. You have to find the time when you have to deal with it. So at the spot, you impossible at the spot. So first of all, you have to find the proof when the thing uh, get fake, and maybe the employer within breaching or did which part, and then after you have the kind of uh, the proof, you got break your insecurity, because most of them they lack for this one.
I see. So, in your relationship, what do you think should be in your opinion, what do you think should be the relationship between
A
like
friend,
friend?
yes, because it's impossible for us to be the family member, right? So, and if you are a family member, you don't need to be that kind of termination of this kind of thing, no. But fact, in fact, you can't change the fact we have an employment contract, but you could treat us friendly and try to create friendly working environment. It's much better. So it's not you correcting each other, but completing each other.
I see. So, what do you think that helpers or employers do in usual times to boost the mutual understanding and reduce conflicts?
Okay, how to reduce conflict mutual understanding is much more communicate, and try to also try to make them understand about the line. We have the line, both have the line. Employer have the line, we also have the line. Don't cross the privacy line, because I guess everybody also didn't like interfere the privacy line.
Yeah, do you mind repeating the quote you just said about like the relationship of them should be friends and should have friendly communication and should respect their own privacy, like don't cross their own line.
Okay, like this. For the friendly working environment, give room for anyone, some room. That's mean maybe 姐姐你可以做，做細啲嘢咧，你可以做下先啦。咁呢個嘢做，屋企啲嘢咧你自己安排，幾時要做就做。落日，落日廿四小時，半山我哋係廿四小時㗎嘛。Because we are live in and our working environment is different with office. Office you have a time, for us we don't have. So let try to give her a trust and let her manage her own time. At the same time, of course, because nobody's perfect, maybe she made something wrong. At the spot, you have to remind her. 如果我好似我咁樣同之前我老細咧，啱啱走嗰個she told me that 你咧可唔可以咧？我第一時間係洗手盤嘅，洗手盤一定要乾淨，冇任何啲嘢喺嗰度嘅。如果真係有任何啲嘢喺嗰度，佢會 take a picture send 俾我嘅，咁我都係會講 sorry 留啲嘢。At first, my main duty on that day, before I go out holiday, I always check first on that part, make sure there is nothing. So other than that, we can do it later. So this is the way we communicate, and even maybe got something wrong. I learned a lot from this family is 冷靜, so that's why I stay calm. She's not immediately judge me. No, she tried to let me to sit down and tried me still give me opportunity to explain. So this is the way. Even the employer should be open-minded, because some of the employer having that kind of. I told you that's a problem. Why don't try to be like this? That's stay calm. It's not focus on the problem, but focus on the solving problem. And it's not focus on the reason, but focus on the explanation. Because behind the story also have the reason, and behind the reason have the explanation.
I see. So, do you think the domestic helpers are aware of their rights?
Not all, because they is not aware. Some of them they're thinking that 算罷啦，我係到打工咋，如果落婚姻嚟，我又冇份工㗎啦。Most of them they're having this kind of thought. So that kind of simple thinking, simple thought, even they themselves, the habit also very simple about food. 本身咧食嘢我哋好簡單啫嘛，真係啊！你真係俾買喺嗰度，佢自己煮，俾番式已經夠噶啦。辣椒醬啊，或者剪蛋啊，咁樣 OK 㗎。本身你冇乜必要俾佢太多嘢。如果真係佢好中意想食中意啲嘢，佢自己會買㗎啦。
I
Yes.
have a follow-up question. What is a job in Hong Kong mean to you guys compared with a job in Indonesia?
Okay, the job is for sure everyone would like to have a better earning. 因為咧because if compared in Indonesia, our Indonesian regulation for the finding a job is not easy because their criteria is mostly they focus on the younger than us, about the age restricted. At least you have to be younger than 30 and single mostly. If you are married and then or divorced, you seem like have no right to find a job. The qualification for the job is not easy for us, and so we try to expand here even a knowledge and the job itself to be that kind of a backbone for the family. Mostly came to Hong Kong a woman who came up from their comfort zone to fight back their future very unsure, even for own future, for family, for their kids, mostly a single parent. Why don't they stay and try to give a time for the kids? It's because they would like to change their life in better way, and at the same time they're learning the new thing in Hong Kong. A lot of things, the regulation, the work attitude. Hong Kong people, the work attitude is very good. They work hard for that. Even try to survive for their living expenses. This is the best discipline. All these things is the best way we could to take it back in ourselves. Maybe in Indonesia we could not have it. So at the same time learning, at the same time we have the earning. This is the main the job for us.
So is it competitive to find a job in Hong Kong as a domestic helper?
Yes, because as a domestic helper, it's much easy to get the job and try to vacant, because the vacant mostly in Hong Kong itself also, you should know Hong Kong people is rely on the helpers because they need to cope with their own living expenses. If they have no helper, they could not cope with the daily basis.
So it's not difficult to find a job here.
Yes, it's not difficult as long as you are qualified. So I told all the Indonesian helper, at least before they came to Hong Kong, make sure you yourself understand what is your qualified. At least you understand English, the basic English. Second, you have to tell yourself you have to keep yourself learning and growing because time it changes. Even the employer itself also change. The generation is changed.
I see. Then, do you think the domestic helpers are aware of the unfair treatment from their employers?
Some of them yes, some of them are not.
Why is it so?
Because of the mindset problem. Because first of all, maybe they came to Hong Kong is just because at home no job or job loss, and then some of them because showing my neighborhood came to Hong Kong and now every week have a day off or whatever. Seeing that kind of social media, they have interest. So it's because the basic interest that's the foundation. If you get the wrong method on your first interest, that will be doomed. So when you get the unfair treatment, you will not aware. Even maybe to avoid that kind of sexual harassment, in verbally or is non-verbal, that's not easy to identify for them. So the self-awareness is quite low.
So, any tips for them to judge whether what is unfair or?
Sure. How to judge what is called unfair? First of all, you have to understand yourself. Second, try to blend with the situation first, and then after, which one is called fair, which one is unfair. For fairness, in this world, nothing fair. but how to moderate it about the fairness to you, because if you say fair, it's not to every individual the same, right? Because depend on individual need. I could not say fair to me is fair to you, no, but only the basic thing about the fairness is only the regulation, that's it. Other than that, you should to moderate yourself.
I see. Then, do you have any suggestion on some sexual harassment or abuse problems?
Sure. For the sexual harassment, because this one is not easy for us. I told you that it's quite low the self-awareness. It happens. It's not only from the different gender, but also happen the same gender. So the the self-awareness should to be need more for them to understand themselves and understand the situation. The sexual harassment is not only come that I rape you, I molest you, no, but even the word they say to you make you uncomfort. That's also could be sexual harassment. Even the way they staring at you from the different gender, maybe from the part of your body, that kind of things also. And then the treatment, that's something that's make you uncomfort. Within at the same time, you could say so that I'm so sorry, uncomfort with it. You have to say, you have to dare to say no. And some of them they could not say no, this is a problem.
Then, any tips for them to like encourage them how to say no?
This time, because actually the project, next project, actually my project is to spread more awareness to them and try to teach them about learning the behavior from the different gender for this part. Because sexual harassment and raping case I was handling past this a few years is end of depressed. So I concerned about the mental state for the future.
Could you please give a number, like how many cases, and it's happened between domestic workers themselves or between employers and domestic workers?
Okay, which part of case is that?
Sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment actually is a lot. If I would like to say, I could not say, but mostly I handle it since 2017. Who reported to me, and myself is I take a note that is 4 cases. And first, 2017 of May, she called me. She's been raped by employer, and she's newcomer, and she called me late. It's already get pregnant. Because employer, I guess the employer is having the kind of experience, well experience. When doing it is trying that threaten her, I will terminate you, and you will be losing your job. And he forced her to do it with him, and despite all the phone everything, kept up by the employer. So make sure she could not find any evidence. After that, all the bed sheet, everything, take to the laundry. And that is not using a condom. So that's why after she realized she get no menstruation, she called me and cried. Even she called me, she did not to show the number. So at that moment, I feel, from where you get my number? From Google. And she already pregnant 1 month on that day. It's about 6 weeks. And after I try to assist her, but again, because I care for the emotional, she's on that day mentally state very unstable, and I try to her to talk to the pathfinder, but again, it's not much help because she herself could not try to be peace, try to accept the fact. She her fake. Just imagine, she tried to forget the thing, but she always remind, and you stay together with that person you hate most. It's not easy for her to deal with it. Until on that day, she get depressed and miscarriage. Even yes, the employer composed 100,000, but could not get back to the normal, and she's back in Indonesia. This is the first case. Second case, she even got someone call me. I don't know now how is she. She has to be forced by the employer, need to be have sex with him, without condom, and because the employer, the background is a divorce and having separation with the wife, and the kids is 16 years and 11 years on that day. So she stay with the sir, and the kids also stay with the sir. Sometimes the kids went to school, the employer forced her to do so, and suffocate the document, her document, the passport, everything. And at that time, she told me that how could he do it? I didn't know. Even my agency also, my boss came to agency and pay all the agency fee at the moment, and take back all and keep all the passport and everything. So she could not report, she could not do anything. She cried to me, but I could not contact her because she dared not to show the number to me. I feel hopeless, I feel helpless. And I said, why you could not shout? That is impossible for her to shout. So I tried to understand. After a few cases, I tried to understand. "Ah, I have to be concerned to their mental state. It's not try to tell them to go to the court, no, but it's the mental state for the victim." And the third case, when the T12, she also a newcomer. She just working for 4 months, raped by the employer brothers. And at that time, she actually, the job is taking care of a grandma only, and the brother just using that kind of method came over just only that I'm helping and try to take care, but actually it's nothing because the grandma is still healthy, and try to take advantage on that situation, especially T12, nobody around, and he asked her to quát xạ. Có thể gì kêu hệ quát xạ. Comme que she don't have that kind of awareness because she's new, and then maybe she just feel it's fine. Because when doing có chân gì kêu hệ quát xạ, bố trong係嗰度入齊嘅，咁婆婆同佢咁講㗎，你一陣間追完咧可以翻房，因為佢同婆婆瞓覺嘅。點知咧嗰陣時夜晚咧嗰個男人係同佢講 ，no 啦，try to accompany me and playing a card, and he used red wine to give her a drink, and he could not say no. On that day, I don't know, maybe adding something she also didn't know. And at that moment, actually, she's not totally she just no strength, losing her strength, and raped her. So after the thing happened, she could not shout, she could not do anything. And after a week later, she called me and she cried and didn't know what to do. If she resigned, she still have to pay the agency fee, and she didn't know what the reason. If tell the truth, who believe? So I told her, if you could not manage your emotion, you can back out. Whatever the reason, just give the reason that you would like to go back to Indonesia. You still need to go back to Indonesia. It's not to try to find new place, because you need to calm down yourself. Try to accept the fact, try to admit, try to forgive yourself, and stop feeling guilty, and try to stable your mental and try to find a new one. If you on that spot you resign and then try to get a new place, you could not manage anyway. It's the same, because you still haven't done with yourself. So I just find out this after on that day, and because now I understand why they sometimes would like to run away, why try to hide themselves and try not to speak out, because mostly they judging to the victim. It's not try to understand the situation, and there are most of the people who comment, maybe because you are doing this, doing that, but actually not. When you are speaking about the sexual harassment, about the sexual assault, nothing to do with your behavior yourself, but it's a man. You have to understand, man is to be designed their brain, 3/3 is sex. You have to understand this is the God will. It's nothing to do with anything. It's nature. But you have to know how to respond. So that's why I say I recommend stop react but response and observe.
Then do you think because the domestic helper they are more vulnerable to this kind of sexual abuse, do you think it is best to let them know how to protect themselves at first?
Yes, it's the I mean you have to aware first rather than it happens. Because when it happens you could not do anything. So I try to give the information how to deal to avoid it much better rather than you already happened, because once already happened, if ask you to carry on with the court, you got to lose anyway. You could not find any evidence. It's already happened, I think, a few years ago. I remember, I don't know what year, got some of Indonesian helper already get raped, even bring the sperm to the court. She got nothing. She closed the case because she waited for too long. So this one for the sexual harassment, sexual assault in Hong Kong is quite weak for the this one for the protection. That's why I'm much more concerned for the mental state for the health.
So any tips for self-protection?
Sure. So that's why I said you have to learn about the behavior for the man itself. You have to understand about the main man. Most of men are having this kind of mind. Depend on them, they could control it or not. And don't ever tell to your mom, because your mom not gonna to believe you. But try to speak to person that you trust for. And actually I also now having a project with our Indonesian doctor. She's a psychology, so psychologist. Yeah, she's a resident and she's a doctor. So that's why now I'm working together with her and try to promote this much more self-identity and then try to identify early stage. So at least they could avoid it and try to find out using which part to defend. Because some of men having that kind of sex desire level is high, some is normal, some having that kind of problem on themselves but they didn't know. You have to understand that some of them they're having a fantasy team, using that kind of fantasy team, so you have to know the situation which part you are. And even we are an adult, it's normal to have this kind of sex desire, even men and women. And I would like to promote this to the Indonesian helpers especially, because they feel taboo when we are speaking about sex. But actually it's normal. You have to understand it's normal and common, especially in Hong Kong. And for the relationship, I could not say most of Hong Kong people with the husband and wife relationship, because they may be too focused on their working, to focus on their career. Say they got lesson on this communication. So they are, as I observing on the case, it's not happen the man is no wife. No, they have a wife. But why they do that to the helper? Why they do that to the helper? The problem is the communication between the husband and wife. They could not manage to get through. Because for them maybe it's also already, we already old age. We don't need to talk about it. You are wrong. You need to communicate with your partner. This is need. Should to be open, even about sexual. Your sexual need, both are need. But most of them I observe, maybe because of the they don't understand. Men, when they having the stage on the career getting higher, the pressure getting higher, they need to relax more. Then the release is only sex. It's not only sex, but maybe you could with other thing, maybe with the gym or doing the exercise, but it's not help much. They need sex to release. This is maybe new thing, but I learned it a while. I try to find out this kind of information from YouTube. So I'm mostly using this kind of a time to find this the information and I try to share it with all my friends. You should to understand this, or else you don't get it. So a few months ago, got another case. The helper didn't aware it. This one also husband and wife, and the sir always used to give her tips. This is a few hundred or this kind of thing. But for her, maybe some appreciation. So she didn't aware on it. After a while, the sir asked her to sleep with him. She rejected. Of course, he get angry for sure. I already do lots of things for you, but why you rejected me? And she's not aware on it. She's working for 6 years coming, and she thought already good the relationship between her and the employer itself. So she tried to tell the mom, but what the mom said, is it impossible happen? How do you know? You should know your men's state also, instead of you just saying that no, it's not going to be happen, it's impossible.冇理由嘅，真係冇理由，你都係要查翻㗎。信 OK， 你可能唔信姐姐可以，但係咧你要睇翻你個老公個情況。嗱，so that's why I say your communication may be between both husband and wife having a problem. You are not open-minded about your sexual need, which is a fact actually on yourself, including on your partner.
So how would you respond to your male employer if he
Okay,
asks you to sleep?
Good. It's because now I'm serving male employer, right? You have to be observed. And first of all, that certain point, a lot of things they're using the method. First, they're using the method to praise you. So you don't get flooded when they praise you. Second, they will give you some small gift. Say thank you and try to appreciate it, but just keep it there. Should to him, just keep it there. Don't use it. Third, they will give you bonus, something that's money, in order, saying that, showing an appreciation or whatever. Make sure you have to ask detail why you give me, and write it down. So have to be firm on yourself. I thanks to your appreciation, but again, would you mind if you don't repeat it again? You have to firm yourself. Should to be aware because you more mean fight channel.
You also just said you watch some YouTube content on
Yes.
the sexual harassment. Do you mind sharing with us maybe later?
Oh, sure. Some of the YouTube channel mostly I follow Dr. Ramani is about narcissistic disorder because I just observing that most of the Hong Kong people having this kind of problem, narcissistic. It's not because of their generally, but because of the city build them. The socialized in Hong Kong mostly, they ground their image, right? Try to put on their image, so they kind of comfort on them that I'm always right, having this kind of. I mean, this is the first generation maybe for sure, but you should to know the state on this one. So when I try to find out all this, and then some of the doctor I also try to follow on. So all the time whenever I have time, I try to listen to them and then try to understand. Oh, if the person doing this, we have to do that. We have to do this, and why they manipulate them, why they manipulate us, even manipulate themselves. So this kind of things I try to share. Oh, maybe it's not work to anyone, but at least worth of try.
You share those content to your friends as well, right?
Some of them yes, but it's not generally because English most of the time. So it's not our language, but if for our language I recommend for the Indonesian doctor also, because she's doing this about sexual need mostly is a Dr. Boyke, Dr. Knight. They are all actually work. They also international school, and they already done for more than a decade. Because since I was before marriage, last time I also used to read the read the article. Dr. Boyke, Dr. Knight. This one is our sexology from Indonesia. So since I was in Singapore using that kind of newspaper, I always used to keep it and try to know about it more because I have interest. And I don't feel any taboo when speaking about sex. But some of Indonesian, no. Most of us, especially Indonesian women. So in ourselves also having a problem on that. That's you should to speak openly to your partner, but they dare not to. So when anything happen that seem like why men find another person, why men find another woman to satisfy them, you rather to judge the woman than your man. This is a problem because you actually didn't understand how to communicate, didn't open about sexual need, didn't open about sexual information. This is maybe is the key.
I see. Then do you mind sharing the links through maybe WhatsApp too?
Oh, for sure.
So, any word of encouragement to the domestic helpers to face their relationship with employers?
The encouragement is first of all, don't personalize yourself, don't engage with them, try to accept the fact who you are and stand at your ground.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Today another topic is about the
Yeah,
love
we
scam.
have upcoming topics.
Mm.
Do you need to take a break or?
It's fine.
Do you need to drink some water? Because
No need. It's fine. For me, it's fine. It's okay.
Thank you. So, have you heard of any love scams from your
Yes.
friends or yourself?
Yes.
Can you-
Even I myself also get,
Oh,
but I aware on it. So, mostly last time maybe the old type of the Facebook. The old type of the Facebook, they're using the Facebook method because last time even Messenger we could not call yet, right? So they're using the fake account and then try to praise you and then mostly because our time working hour and the pressure from the boss make us swing. So on that moment we try to entertain ourselves at the social media and you could not aware at that moment you try to release yourself in social media and then you meeting with new person and then suddenly keep warm that kind of intensity so they could not avoid it. This one the suggestion is you should understand about relationship. Actually the real relationship is not based on your intensity but on your consistency. And this one I also learned from Matthew, which is I follow it until today. So I try to make them understand what is called true relationship and fake relationship. So when you are dealing with the social media, actually you are faking yourself and faking another person, and you are contact with the faking relationship.
I see. And so is it very common for the domestic workers to fall into love
Yes,
scam?
because they're having a problem with the family and then they are feel 有人安慰佢噶嘛，安慰佢，咁係佢梗係撲埋你啦。Because of this one, so that's why from the family maybe having a pressure. Some of the family having that kind of some of the family, yes, they didn't care for your feeling, your thought, your struggle here, your situation. They just need your money. Yes, some of them. So when they dealing with this kind of situation, they could not deal with them and then try to find someone else to talk to and but the wrong person. And most of women they will speak to the different gender. This is a problem.
Then you've said you and your friends have encountered love scams before. So is it
Yeah.
from Facebook and then
I myself at that time is from Facebook, and I identified early that I knew that I reported the Facebook.
What is the case exactly in this one?
The cases are mostly all the time when I identified that this is love scam. At first, he talked to me as a friend, and then start about relationship, and then asking you to send that kind of image of yourself about the pornography. So most of them having this kind of issue at that time. So the case is blackmailing you. I will start to spread it in internet, and then you will get now. They having this kind of love scam, and ask for money. And the wrong part, most of them they send whole page of themselves. So I said it's normal you have this kind of entertain on yourself, and maybe you also don't feel you feel safe already. After a while you having that kind of connection, you feel safe. But again, you should remember when you send this kind of photos, this kind of photos that will be affected on yourself. So I said, first of all, maybe you would like to enter yourself is fine, but don't ever send your whole body. At least when you cut it, not whole body. When they spread it, not nobody knows. And normal. I said it's normal. It happens to anyone. Even how much you defend yourself when you are on the swing, you could not resist it. It's normal.
then how can you identify it as a scam?
Once they ask about your personal data,
What do you mean by personal data?
they will ask something, and then first of all, they will ask your addresses, your real name, and then they will send something to you, but actually not. This is the first step they are doing it, and then maybe will ask your money, your bank account, and then they will send you money, but actually not. They are gonna scam you.
So how would they expect to scam money from you?
For most of some of the Indonesian helper or the helper having the bank account in Hong Kong, like Chinese, this one the Standard Chartered whatever. So using this method to ask your bank account, and then they send it to you first, but so they get caught at the money laundering, and then within this one love scam, and then after and 佢係用錢溝你嘅。I send you this amount, and then later you do this for me, and then this is for you. Some of one. So 點解我同佢講你冇貪錢，千祈冇貪錢。So the main is tell yourself nothing free in this world，冇免費午餐。呢個説話你係一定 put on your mind。
So so those are we say 騙徒.
Scammer.
The scammers usually scam the helpers for money laundering.
Yeah, nowadays it's money laundering. As last time it's not money laundering. Last time even trap. Because they ask your address and then send something to you, you didn't realize it's a trap.
So could you please say like a sentence? They should protect their privacy and personal data.
Yeah, so that's why this time I promote this one. You should aware on it. Your privacy is first priority. So even my boss asked me, do you have any bank account? No. Do you have any e-wallet? No. Why don't you use that? My privacy is first priority. I don't do that. Even you are my boss. It's not allowed you to know my privacy more than what your stake are.
Then what are the other platforms apart from Facebook that the scammers will?
This time is through email. Remember, this time is through email. So that's why I get hacked. My Facebook is from email, and I didn't realize it. That's actually the software from the phone. It's effect. So, I didn't update my software because I was thinking once I update, I could not downgrade, and that will affect my phone memory at first. But after I knew that, oh, that's a stupid. I have to do that. So luckily, my personal data is never put on my phone. But again, why I take back my Facebook page, at least I secured it back, is because most of the person who trust me since 2016 until today, they send me the photos, their privacy, without censor. This is what I care for. For the follower, whatever, for the posting, I can repost it back because all in my mind still have it. I can storage it back. So I encourage them, please take care of your privacy. And beside from it's not only from email, TikTok also now gets through the TikTok application, mostly Instagram. Now all the social media is quite dangerous if you are not aware for that. The other day, a few weeks ago, from TikTok application, got one, and she already given the ID card. I said, why you do that? She said, I don't feel, I just feel I have to do that, and then ask her to download something, and then already put the account under her name, and then ask her to transfer to me. I said, don't click. I said, once you click, that's it. And now block him, start to report to the consulate, and let them do with the ID. So that's earlier. Luckily, she remember my Facebook. So she give me a call. It's quite early alert. So that's why next time for the future, just be careful. Now block everything. Don't try to get in touch, because nowadays they're using the Google Translate. Even our dialect, Java language, also they knows. So that's why I said the technology nowadays is very rare for changing, no? So that's why you have to aware yourself how to should to be wiser how to use your social media.
Then what about dating sites?
Dating site, yes, I have it. I try to because I myself should to explore. I have some of account on it, so I understood the playing role. You use your personal data for sure, because at first, yes, you are not no need your personal data. Maybe you just open the account using your email or whatever and your nickname. But again, after you used to upgrade, use premium or whatever, you use your credit card and this kind of thing. This one actually is a scam. I find out a few. I have the Kagum Cupid, dating.com, and some of them I use the WeChat also. So I try to explore on that state. Is try to find out why most of us having this kind of problem, and try to communicate with those of mail. And some of them have ever I open when my WeChat I open nearby, and they already blocked me a few because I purposely put the picture that's they kind of very attractive. Suddenly they message me, could we have a fun? What kind of fun? And then he dared to say, maybe we have a sex and then I pay. Thank you. So, okay. First of all, I'm underage. I tell him. Second, this chat, I could report it as a sexual harassment and a prostitution. Are you dare to do so? Suddenly, he blocked me. So I find this kind of thing a lot, and I said, "Oh, Hong Kong men." So I said, no wonder. Even that kind of the ever at the TVB is showing this kind of news, right? So, but again, this is individual. We could not say no. This is normal and common. If you would like to have it, that's fine. Why not? Right? This is individual. But again, try to understand your state, why you doing it. If you're really doing for business and then you do it for normal, that's fine. But this image is because you are as a domestic helper. Your caption totally domestic helper, and then you're doing it as effect for not for other person, effect for mostly domestic helper. So they are finding that 嗰個工人都係咁噶啦，佢咧係做咗呢啲噶啦，點解佢有個 WeChat 係咗呢啲噶啦？ And I communicate a lot with them suddenly, and then after I using that method, even got some of them 佢真係好叻講嘢咁樣。I know her the way you handle the method. Maybe you find someone is rough to you or whatever. it's not convinced me that you are a good one. I answered, and he blocked me. I said, you are a player. I am too. I said, so please stop this kind of nonsense to me. You're not. It's not gonna do it for me. You get the wrong person. So that meant when you facing this kind of situation, this kind of conversation, you have to be firm. You have to tell yourself upright.
So then, do you just said that because the domestic helpers here face stressful
Yes.
work environment, so
Yeah.
they want some like romantic relationship.
Yeah, that kind of romance. So some of them they don't aware on it. And 玩到個頭啦，嗰時過咗佢都唔記得咗，係咪先？嗱，as for me, it's different because I try to put on the account is because I would like to know, I would like to explore, and I myself I know how to defend myself. And one more thing, maybe the problem is language barrier. Because the scam they will you are Indonesian and then they use also Indonesian word too. They are not gonna use English. They try to find the translator.
Then how would you suggest them to do if they feel lonely and they want some romantic relationship?
Meditation.
You do it yourself also.
Yes.
How does it work?
Make me calm down and try to positive thought to yourself and try to focus what is your goal actually, because sometimes we also having change, right, to our goal itself, to ourselves also change, and then you losing your focus for sure because of the stressful. So try to sit down and get back to your focus and know your limit.
I see. So any furthermore suggestion you would like to give to the domestic helper regarding love scams?
First of all, try to understand yourself first. Because this is you know what is your need most when you are in Hong Kong. First of all, your focus is first on money and learning. Make sure this is the first step. Second, when you're having a relationship or connection with a stranger in social media, make it just only for fun. It's not for extremely for relationship. If you dare to do for the relationship, make sure do it offline.
So social media is actually cheating people.
Yes, using that platform much more to use for motivate yourself to take for the positive way. It's not the negative. Try to find a positive one.
I see. So I think that's all for love scam. Any further things to add for this part?
I think it's only this one because the influence of the social media we could not the attracted is quite strong, especially today, especially now. It's not only for us. Actually, Hong Kong people also get love scam. I have a friend also. It's around a few thousand only. So this one happened is maybe because, especially now, because of COVID break, and then you could not go everywhere. You engage in your social media partner. So whatever the platform, social media, you have to be aware on yourself how much you're gonna use it.
Thank you.
Now we come to the last topic is about saying no to friends and relatives when they are trying to borrow money.
Okay.
Yeah.
For borrowing money, actually 2017 is already break out about the case. This is some of Indonesian helpers, especially having the kind of problem that they would like to earn more, having a bonus, and then all these kind of things. So got one of the group that's finding a victim is an Indonesian newcomer. And because ourselves itself in our country, that's the regulation due before came to work in Hong Kong have to pay the debt. And this one, unintentionally, the private personal data which be transferred to the finance. and your name is there. Even you close it, even you already paid it. And from there, got someone find it out and try to influence them. That's maybe you when you're doing this business, you will get upline and then downline, that kind of business online, especially that time is a call quiz and questnet, and ask them to borrow money from the finance using their own personal data, but because you need a guarantor and whatever, they provide another person to pay for it, give them a 500. But actually, when you the borrowing money on that day, you came to the finance, the amount is the same. You have to pay at the same amount because using your own data, and another person actually faking it. So she did not realize it. And again, you the borrowing money on that day, the reason is not for business, but the reason is to send to hometown. And the 5,000 they send hometown, even the finance have them to send. So this is the scam actually, but they did not realize. And most of Indonesian is lack of information for this one. That's why they got scammed. So that's why the habit should to change. I encourage them to change the habit using the social media to try to much more gain knowledge and information. But again, it's not easy. Take a time for sure. And another thing, to avoid it, that someone here, they are playing victim. Bọn họ là因為你咁樣本身咧，佢自己已經想有啲嘢㗎啦。She is already having a problem with the finance, and then she will try to find another victim to help her, and then using this kind of method. And that moment, that fellow unstable, and will say, Samyun. Now, so on this one, I said that try to put yourself on mind, save your money on your pocket. It's much better.
So will you lend money to your friends or relatives even when you're under huge financial pressure?
Some of them they used to do that because they using a mental effect, emotion. So mostly Indonesian helper having a problem with managing of emotion, and some of them are not because they borrowing money from the finances. Yes, because they're having a problem at home, and some of them. I just find a case from the employer that they contact me because the helper having a problem with the finance, and try ask me to talk to her because she's good. Employer is very good. She asked her, she could not tell the employer. When I contact her, I said, did you borrow the money? Yes. From which finance? She told me it's about for finance. I said, why did you borrow that much? And she told me this that ever happened in our Indonesian is that having an earthquake. She has a problem, and she need to rebuild the house. So she of course need huge sum of money, and she could not borrow from the employer. So she tried to find the solution, which is in Hong Kong itself. Also for borrowing money, it's very easy. But I also quite question this quite long. Why they targeting to in almost helper? Why not to the local person? Local is not easy to borrow money, but for helper, why is it so easy? This is a regulation. Mostly, the finance are targeting to the helper, to the domestic helper. Even got one case to 012. That is, employer borrow the helper's employment contract to borrow the money. So this is rare question that I already mentioned when 2017 got some of also Chinese you interviewing me. At first, maybe because on that day the news from the TVB, and it's not only TVB because on that day even iCable also, because that day is the case 2017 is around more than 100, more 800 helper get caught on this kind of case and get reported from finance and affected on us. And at that moment they also saying that this is a habit from us borrowing money and then without telling the employer. But actually, this is a private issue also. And forgotten one thing, the finance is in Hong Kong under Hong Kong license. And why they targeting in and why they targeting domestic helper? Even now, some of finance also come up with that kind of credit card. Why?
They are far away from home. And
Yeah. So now I try to promote to my fellow domestic helper. Wisely manage your financial need and stop being consumptive on yourself, because that kind of application, maybe sending money or this kind of thing, they will expand their service to taking a loan with very easy. Maybe give you 8,000 for first, and then you can return it just like a credit card, a debit card. This one, if this kind of habit you already carry on, that will encourage you to get more loan. So try to stop the consumptive way and try to manage your financial need and make sure that you yourself also stay firm from others that's using your personal data, because once you're using your personal data, it's out.
So is it your country's culture to help each other out by
Yeah.
lending money to each other?
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. to
Yeah, it's very difficult to resist. So that's why some of them they say, 幫下我啦，咁啊好心軟. So even to the employer, so that's why this kind attitude make the employer taken advantage. Some of them they say that 姐姐幫我哋啦，少少嘢啦，佢更先 no.
So is it more common to act as others' guarantor when they try to borrow from loan sharks, or to directly lending money to?
Yes. Some of them, because actually the finance rule is not only the borrower, but also need a guarantor. And the guarantor itself also using their personal data, because they interview by phone and then asking about your ID number, your phone number, your addresses, all these things, and they record it. So when the borrower ran, they will try to find out the guarantor. But actually, if under the law, the guarantor, since as long as you don't assign yourself, you shouldn't pay for it.
So have you ever been asked to do so? Have you ever been asked to do so?
I ever. So that's why I could say, because I ever have this kind of case myself, and that kind of using my personal data, because I share with my friend, and I trust it. It's because she's my friend since from Indonesia. But again, I get caught on this problem, but I know how to deal with it. To be honest to my employer, what is my situation, and I offer her the solution. The solution is I have to terminate my contract, and I'm not staying here. And then you could help me to report that I'm not working for you. But she told me no. You try to finish the contract, and you could pay how much you could pay. But because I told her this amount and this amount, how to deal with it, and which part I have to deal, impossible to deal with both, because they on put two. So I say impossible to put it both, because my salary, based on my salary, I could not cover it. So she suggests me, and I try to put on this one, only left a 3 annual payment I get out, and the other one I settle finish down, because in order I don't want to make my boss in difficult position, because they will ask the job character go up also, even they not allowed you, they will have the right to do so. So I combine join force with my employer. So when the phone call, my boss answered, 你嗰日一上嚟啊，佢咧就嚟要約啦。咁我話俾你聽，佢話俾我聽，搬山唔係錢係佢要嘅，係佢個朋友，佢個名係呢啲。Because I know the personal data for the friend. And the good thing that's my employer open for that communication. But again, it's not every employer open for this kind of communication. So that's why could not applicable for anyone unless your employer very open-minded. So since you take a loan, you have to responsible for your action. Whatever the situation, whatever, if you told me a lot of helper actually consult on me on this situation, I said it's under your name, you have to pay for it. Whatever the situation, this is what I said, because you can't say no. You already did. This is your own action. You can't say that someone is taken advantage of me. I said you no choice. You have to pay for it. It's not only paying your debt but also paying your action, your own action.
So, do you have any suggestions on how to reject such kind of request?
It's how to reject. You have to understand more information through this kind of borrowing money, all this kind of thing. But this time I'm still observing how to tell them, because they kind of offer getting easier through your phone using e-wallet or whatever, that kind of application now, because not getting spread to the sending money application.
Oh, then because it is your country's culture to help each other,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's very difficult to reject.
Yeah, it's very difficult to say no and very difficult to resist it.
So would you suggest rejecting all kinds of such requests?
Block it.
From it?
Yeah, block it or stop communicate very intense to them, and when come out for borrowing personal data. If borrowing money is fine, maybe you could help how much, that's fine. Even maybe they unpaid you, at least you are not losing your personal data.
So do you think protecting your personal right is more important or helping others more important?
Yes, is it?
Maybe you can say that sentence because we need your
Yeah, so that's your first priority is your privacy.
Any more tips you would like to give to other helpers in borrowing money or lending money?
Lending money, it's your individual for sure. This is even under the law also individual. For borrowing money, make sure you borrow is really for your own need, because you can avoid it. Sometimes the situation force you to do so. In Hong Kong especially, it's easy for you to borrow the money, right?
So the last question in general, would you recommend any resources for information on the above topics for your for your fellows, like any websites or any channels that they could subscribe to? Do you have any resources to recommend?
So far, because this kind of information is not much actually, I also still have to find out again, because uh, when speaking about the law, lending money and cybercrime in Hong Kong have. In Hong Kong, I recommend for the actually website for the immigration have. Yeah, cybercrime have. For the money laundry, for the love scam, this one have. Cybercrime have. For the website in Hong Kong immigration have. For the borrowing money, I'm still finding, because we should to talk formally in general for the this one for the for the ordinance lending money, taking a loan, all this kind of thing. What they I try to find out, but still not quite recommended for them to understand.
Okay. So I think that is all for our questions. So do you have anything to follow up, like the thing that you want to talk to, but we have not covered?
Because you are a youngster, I need your help, especially for breakthrough all this humanity, especially actually the connection within helper and employer and Hong Kong itself. Also, you could not deny the fact that you still need us to be here. the professional regulation itself since the 1970. You already had it, and then getting improving and improving, try to provide it. But one thing that's nowadays a lot of changing, that's we could not have a notice. The issue is from the Hong Kong government itself, how to deal with the case. Some cases, Hong Kong, the regulation is very clear. If compared to others, is best one, I could say. But when handling the case, it's not.
So you mean there are not a lot of laws to protect the rights of domestic?
Yes, practically, because for the handling the case when come to the court, they like to delay and seem you are second priority, and just like sexual harassment itself, yeah, and then just like when having a reporter from the helper case, they seem like saying that you are second priority, but when the employer side, they first action. So this is need to be rise up.
What do you feel being in Hong Kong? Like happy or lonely or miss your home?
For me,
Mm.
yeah, for myself it's different because from the start I already having that kind of adventure types and challenging myself, so I'm happy with it. Even in Singapore, in everywhere, I could manage myself for that. So I encourage my friend, most of them, focus on what you need. When you come to that kind of thing, blend with it. So you came to Hong Kong, you have to learn. You have to blend with the situation and try to manage it. If you keep on saying that 呢個唔係我國家嚟㗎，係真唔係你個國家，咁你過嚟做咩啊？係咪先？咁你一再已經set off your mind to be here, you have to blend. So you have to manage it and try to bring something else to your country and to upgrade yourself for sure. So don't feel homesick. If you feel homesick, you shouldn't come out from your comfort zone.
So does in general does the domestic helpers here in Hong Kong they feel happy or they're unhappy in general?
In general,
Yes.
maybe they feel lonely and they feel homesick for sure because some of them having the issue for the kids and then having the marriage problem. As for me, I'm different. Even because my personality is different, maybe I always focus on the solving problem. It's not for the problem itself. Since I was so, I'm dealing with my own problem since I was. I could not feel any that kind of impulsive on facing the problem. Try to calm down and try to take a step forward.
I see. I actually got a domestic helper at home. She's from Philippines, but then it seems like she is a bit shy and doesn't want to talk.
So they try to keep a distance on you is because they feel awkward. They understood their ground. They stay their ground. They feel like I'm only a helper here. So that's why I encourage them. No, try to explore yourself. You have a value. You have the same level. You have the same level as a human. Yes, you are a helper. You can't change the fact, but it doesn't mean you put yourself down until you have no pride. So this is happening. So you could feel it, right? So try to keep a distance on you. Try not to even you ask them to force them to be honest on you. They try to keep silence because one day they also quite worried. Sometimes will against the power to them. Some of employees using this method. So that's why I also once you observe it, how the way people treat you, you have to know where you stand for and keep your distance when you manage the distance. Because some of employees, yes, they do it. 所以點解我嗰日有個 Facebook 有個你啊嚇你知唔知喺香港好幸福㗎啦？係咪？你可以玩電話，隨時玩電話我唔搞好啊對你。This one is using this method to against you, to treat you that kind of abusive mental. 係咪？咁 我俾你嗰個 WiFi 咧係說服你定係你真係好好人就係俾你個 WiFi 啫，係咪先？咁啊點解你先係講緊呢啲？你有冇覺得到你對人哋咁樣係咪好開心咧？係咪好滿足啊？因為有呢啲噶嘛，所以點解 maybe they have this kind of trauma experience, so they could not doing all out on you, even what try to keep the distance and put the boundaries. Yes, you should to set the boundaries, but again, it's not easy for us to deal with because there's a level issue.
But actually, I hope to be a friend with my domestic helper as well. But I don't know how to do.
Okay, you still don't know how to do it. First of all, how long have you been with him?
Like 10 years.
10 years actually, right? Sorry. It depends. How's your family habits?
Not much communication.
This is the problem. So this is the problem. Normally in Hong Kong, I could not say all, but most, they don't have that kind of family time. 因為佢冇時間呢啲㗎，冇時間關呢啲㗎，因為個個都係好忙㗎嘛。好似你個父母啊，可能佢都忙到咧，忙到柒菜自己都唔記得自己啲嘢，係咪？咁係本身咧，生活係咪真係好 complex 咧？係咪？生活根本好簡單咋。You are the one who make it complicated. Life is easy. They are not easy to accept the fact. Admitting yourself, accept the fact, and try to forgive yourself and try to keep moving. This one is not easy for Hong Kong people mostly. 可能你自己而家都係好少傾㗎嘛，係咪？同你個自己嗰家人都好少傾。This is the lack of the Hong Kong people. Bonding is very lack. The bonding problem.
Maybe need to spend more time on communication.
Yeah. Try to spend more time to communicate, and then especially because we are the same gender, it's much more easy. Try to ask about the opinion or this kind of thing, and try to create some topic.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your suggestion.
That's all for
Anything else?
No,
no.
no for
Okay.
me. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
your
much.
time.
Okay. I also thanks to you, and hopefully going well. And this information, just like what I said, that's maybe I will post on YouTube for sure because I need to spread to anyone. Because now my YouTube channel is also lots of Hong Kong people on.
咁我散啦。
我已經錄咗。
咁我收機。
Okay. Thank you.
If we need maybe further information, can we ask you for more
Oh, for sure.
YouTube links or other?
For sure. Thank you. Me also thank you. Okay.
I think Hong Kong people really need to know more about